Right, so Joe, thanks for coming down today. Pleasure to see you as always. So let's just start this off by sort of reminiscing a little bit. Obviously we played together at Brynmawr. What was that time like for yourself?
Yeah, it was really good, I think. Wasn't it? Coming from more of a local side for myself, and then coming into youth, sort of starting again really, knowing a few boys from like regional A grade and stuff like that, but yeah, going up there and making new friends outside of school and stuff, it was nice to have a bit of a break from that and playing good rugby week in, week out as well with me, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I loved it myself, but obviously then move on then to Cardiff Met, where I didn't get a chance really to play rugby with injury and stuff, but for yourself, you've excelled in that environment. What's it been like, Cardiff Met, for yourself?
Yeah, it's been brilliant in terms of like my own development and stuff. I think going there in COVID was pretty tough, but the way that the S&C department and the rugby club as a whole sort of took reins on it, they had a lot of control on like gym style and how we were training and making sure that we weren't dropping off and keeping on top of things. And then obviously in my second year, into third year, and now I'm obviously my master's year, it's, they've been brilliant in terms of like my own development as well. Playing week in, week out at a really good level in Bucks and the Championship, and training every day as well in the gym and keeping on top of things. It gives you an insight into what professional rugby's like, as well as having that university lifestyle. So I think it's been brilliant for me, and I've had a lot of joy from it as well.
You mentioned like the training and stuff. Like, how hard is it at uni level, like at Met? You're saying about the gateway to professional rugby. What is it entailing for you boys? Yeah,
it's challenging. Obviously, trying to balance a degree as well as training as much as we do. I think some people say that the training load is a lot harder than professional rugby and things like that. Obviously, going in early, leaving late and stuff, and the load that we do pre-season is always tough, but you kind of expect it to be tough. And then going in, week out, it's more of just a in-between games, just trying to repair yourself, ready to go again and peak it on a Wednesday or a Saturday. I think the S&C coaches have got it right in terms of how much we train, the load that we train at, and just keeping on top of everything like that. They're really good. And then on-field training as well, you're learning every week. Obviously, you sharpen the axe in terms of like units and your line-outs and your scrums and things like that, but they're bringing in different things week in, week out, and it's keeping you on your toes, so yeah, it's enjoyable.
And obviously you're studying masters. How hard is that to sort of balance not only pretty much professional rugby, but also then, studying at that level?
Yeah, I mean, I graduated from Scram in July, so I was pretty good, and now I'm on the masters in youth athletic development, so it's a bit of a change from what I've been used to, but again, like they're quite accommodative with what we do and how much we do as well. And I think it's the hours that we train are sort of built around the lectures and stuff. Obviously on a Wednesday we're quite lucky, we don't normally get any lectures on a Wednesday, so you can kind of focus on the game itself, and you have enough time in the week to sort of get your assignments done, and you've got to take a little bit at the weekend to do it, but you kind of take those sacrifices. But yeah, it's enjoyable. I think having something to switch off and from rugby, and having something to fall back on after rugby as well is really important. So I think the university pathway was really good for me, and a lot of other people have benefited from it as well. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and obviously like at Cardiff Met, how important are the fans and that culture within the club itself?
Yeah, it's massive. I think there's been a couple of times this year, certainly last year, where I think if it wasn't for the fans keeping us going, they say that they're the 16th man, and in some games they really were. I don't think we would have got over the line a couple of times last year, a couple of times this year as well without them. It's a credit to them as well when it's throwing it down with rain and they're still outside singing to the top of their lungs and giving the energy that we need. I think when you're on your own line and you can hear them chanting and singing and sort of banging the drum, you want to sort of make that tackle, or you want to get that turnover for them as well as for the boys playing. So in terms of that and the atmosphere it creates and the spotlight it kind of gets given in terms of Buck Super Rugby, it's amazing. And I think without them it'd be a very quiet Rugby 1.
Yeah, 100%. And let's look a bit now then at some special moments in your career so far. You're still a very young player, but you've achieved a lot in that short period of time. Wales 20s, Cardiff Rugby, the list is quite long. So what would you say has been your most memorable moment as a player?
Obviously, like Wales 20s was amazing. Was any rugby player's dream in Wales is to play for Wales one day, and I think Granted, it was age grade level, but putting that badge on and getting your cap and singing the anthem and stuff is something you always dream of. I think obviously with the Cardiff Rugby, I was really grateful with the opportunity that they gave me and sort of where it put me and the experience it gave me as well. You know, playing against Toulouse in the European Cup, it was amazing experience. Seeing Cardiff Arms Park packed out as well and giving you sort of an insight into what professional rugby looks like. You know, I was only there for 2 weeks, but I was welcomed with open arms and the experience will last a lifetime. So it was really good. I think, you know, at Cardiff Met as well, like the experiences I get there, you know, getting to the semi-final of Bucks Super League, playing in the Championship, you know, a couple of times I want to forget a few Championship games, but, you know, other than that, it's a great experience. Cardiff clash again, you know, and that's the great thing about university rugby as well. It gives you that opportunity to play on a big stage. It gives you like a telly game as well, and the hype around it's really good. You know, Christmas clash, I think that's probably the main one for me. You know, everyone sort of looks forward to that Christmas clash. It's the last game before everyone breaks up for Christmas. It's a bit of a nice social event as well for everyone. And I think, you know, playing in that with the atmosphere, 5,000 people there, you know, it's a great game every time I've played in it. So, yeah, it's a lot of memories to take on into further life with myself anyway.
You just mentioned that Christmas clash, you know, obviously that's the last game that Met themselves had and you played in. 34-27 win, I think, and, you know, I was there myself. Class atmosphere, class game to always be a part of as a fan. What is that like to play in? And obviously, you know, it's probably your last one. So what did memories do you take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a very well hyped game. I think, you know, there's normally the ones that are sort of written in bold in the calendar, certainly for the players and for the fans as well. I think going into that last game, you know, you've played everyone in the league at that point, so you kind of know where you're sort of sitting. But obviously Swansea the week before was a great game. We played, well, I thought we played really well, and then going into clash, then it's well, it's a big game for us, and obviously going in trying to get top 4 before Christmas was obviously an aim at the start of the season. So yeah, well hyped. Sort of as soon as the Swansea game finished on the Wednesday, everyone sort of looked forward to the next Wednesday, and I think everything around training, there was a little buzz around it, and slowly started to get bigger and bigger, ready for the Wednesday. And then when you're outside warming up, you can slowly start to feel the stands fill and the chants start singing and the boos coming from the Cardiff Uni side. It's yeah, it's great memories, and you know, and that it gets you fired up for games. And I think you know, I've played in 7 Cardiff clashes now, I'm pretty sure, and every single one gets better and better, and I think those memories are the ones that are going to stay with you for a long time.
You know, and that's an accolade in itself, 7 Cardiff clashes. Talking of special moments and accolades, you know, 49 caps you're on now at Cardiff Met, very close to that momentous 50. How special will that be for you when you walk out on the park and get that cap? Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing. It's going to be an amazing feeling. I know Roma's got it. He had it the last game of the season against Bedwas before Christmas, so he beat me to it. But yeah, I mean, getting 50 appearances for Cardiff Met's really special. It's a real special club close to my heart. I think I owe a lot to them as well, as so to get 50 caps, I think is going to be really special for me and my family. I think whether that'll be in Bucks or the Championship, I think to get 50 caps is something that not a lot of people would get. So obviously I'm really grateful for the opportunity and being able to play in week out for Cardiff Met and hopefully putting them on the front foot. So it'll be good.
Yeah, and you mentioned family there. You know, you told me not so long ago, Joe, about your father, the ends that he goes to come and watch you. 11 years, he said that he hasn't missed a game before. You know, that's just madness. How special is it that your family back you as much as they do?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I think, like, you know, my mum and sister try to get to every game that they can. Obviously, mum working full time, my sister in university as well. But any opportunity they can come and watch a game. You know, they came to Leeds a couple of weeks ago, Leeds away, and you know, having them come and watch and support me is massive. I think, you know, my dad says that he can't expect me to give 100% if he doesn't, and I think by him turning up and being there shows that he gives 100% every week, and he doesn't give me a reason not to try and perform anyway. So yeah, it's brilliant for me knowing that they're going to be there. You know, he's been all over. He's been Ireland, he's been to Spain, he's been to Italy, he's been anywhere he can to come and watch. And I think knowing that someone's there watching you and the way he watches as well, like he gives me a full debrief after a game, whether I played well, whether I didn't play so well, and that's the nicest part, I think, you know, having that honesty and having that feedback off him as well. It constantly makes me want to get better, and having someone like that coming to watch, it means a lot to me.
So would you say, like, you know, your father has been a pretty significant part of your development in your career?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, everyone's parents just want you to be the best version of yourself, I think, and my mum and dad and everyone around me, I think my grandparents, my sister, my aunties, uncles, they all want the best for me, and as we want the best for their kids and everyone else. I think, you know, being able for them to turn up and support and want me to be the best and want me to try and become the best, you know, it's massive. And I think in terms of my overall development, you know, I only turned 17 5 years ago, so before that I couldn't get anywhere without them. I had to rely on them for training, I had to rely on them for gym sessions, gym memberships, you know, taking me over on a park, watching me in the rain, in the snow, anything. And I think without them and without their help, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Done a lot of things, but back to Cardiff Met especially, you know, you've captained them for a full season. What was that like for yourself?
Yeah, it was amazing for me. Obviously, you know, the club itself is so close to me and means a lot to me as well. So when I had that meeting with Danny and guards, it was massive, and for them to offer me the opportunity to become captain, you know, I didn't take a second to sort of think about it. I just instantly said yes, and you know, it was challenging. It was tough, especially last year. We couldn't string a win together for a couple of weeks, and I think around that time it was difficult, and I had to rely on a lot of boys, but I was lucky enough to kind of have that support group around me, and I could fall onto them and speak to them about it, as well as the coaches. You know, the coaches, they're coaches, and yes, they're lecturers in the university, but they're also like rugby players and rugby fans. I think to be able to get on with them off the field is really important as well. And you know, sometimes whenever I had a meeting with them, it might not always have just been about rugby. It could have been about my academics, could have been about life outside of rugby, and being able to captain the team as well. It was unbelievable. I know obviously we didn't really go to where we wanted to go last year. You know, leaving in the quarterfinals against Exeter, you know, it stung. But like I said to them after the game, we've worked really hard all year, and for me as a captain, as if I could see everyone like putting 100% in, and you know, that's all you can ask for really. And sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, but you can't ask for anything more than 100%. So yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I'm quite lucky this year that I can, you know, obviously Ewan, and there's a group of us, but Ewan's normally the captain on the Wednesday, and you know, he's taking charge and he's leading really well this year. And I think, you know, I'm always there for him if he needs me, and if he needs to ask questions and stuff. Like we go together as sort of like a group of 4, 5, 6 of us, but he's doing a great job himself, and it's just nice to see that like the captaincy has gone to a good person as well this year.
Yeah, and you know, like you're saying about giving 100%, you know, I always watch from the sidelines, whether that's, you know, in the gantry or over the last couple of years, you know, as a fan. It's, you know, and obviously I've played with you as well. I know for a fact that you always give 100% when you're on that pitch. You know, and for everyone around you, that must be such a good thing to sort of, well, play off, you know. But let's talk now about sort of giving 100% a little bit off the pitch. You know, like you've just gone through, prior to this season, a shoulder injury. You know, how was that challenge? How did that challenge you? And then you had to give 100% in a different sort of way to do?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, dislocated my shoulder in January last year. Never really knew what it was about. Sort of just thought once it went out, it went back in. I thought that was the end of it, but coming to the end of the season, we kind of realised that it was a bit more than just a dislocation, and there was something wrong with it. I think after the quarter-final in Exeter, we kind of sat down and thought, well, you know, that's probably the season done for me now. Go and have a scan and see where we're at, sort of thing. And luckily enough, I had healthcare, so I went through the private system, went to Spire and got everything sorted. And you know, I had a great surgeon. He worked miracles on my shoulder. Really quickly as well, and I think it was quite good. Weirdly, it was good timing. I know it's a bittersweet moment, but end of the season, had it done at the end of April, and then it was just a matter of just making sure I was back fit for the start of the season. I think we had a chat with the coaches at the end of the season, and I said, look, like I'm gonna give everything I can to try and be back for the start of Buck season. No one really knew where it would sort of be, whether I'd be back or whether I wouldn't be, but having that sort of target. And having that goal of getting back at a certain time is probably something that kept me driven. obviously not having any rugby or any sort of commitments after the operation made it a lot easier as well. I think having Barry at Cardiff Met being a full-time physio and being there for me, like whatever time of the day, whether I wanted to ring him about exercises, stretching, what I can do in the pool, anything, he was always there for me. And I think, again, like, I can give 100%, but I need people around me to give 100% as well, and everyone bought into it, and it was amazing, actually. And yeah, it was a really good rehab. You know, it was tough at times, don't get me wrong. Like, there was some days where I woke up and it was challenging, but again, having a close group around me and people driving it on and stuff, it was quite a good rehab for myself. And over the summer, I worked really hard with the S&C department, Di Watts in particular, to get fit and not, you know, put on any sort of unnecessary weight, and train areas that I needed to work on. So I did a lot of lower body stuff, and then over pre-season, then once I seen the boys back and back in training, it was kind of that last sort of push for me and a last little lift, and I think that it was good timing with that as well. And then getting back into it, and you know, when that's your dream in it, you just want to get back playing and start tackling and get back into the game, and luckily I got back, and yeah, it's been pretty good ever since, really. So yeah, it was. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's part and parcel of rugby. I think if you come into rugby not expecting to get injured or not having any surgery, I think you'd be wrong. But you know, it's how you react from it and how you bounce back from it, and that's the biggest thing. And I think, yeah, it was really good for myself.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, you touched on their dark times. How do you know, you obviously develop physically as a player, you know, as we all see. But how do you develop mentally as a player?
I don't know, really. I think you kind of, as you get older, you kind of realise there's more to life than rugby. I know it's tough for me to say that because rugby's everything to me, but having that sort of release after rugby, like going out with the boys, you know, at the end of the day, like, I know we're all in uni and we train flat out week in, week out, but we're all 21, 22-year-old boys, and there's, you know, we have good times together outside of the rugby training. I think having that around you, having a good group around you, you know, we have Luke come in this year and have that sort of like sports psychology behind it, kind of getting you into the thinking behind it, like the processes, making sure that everyone's sort of on the same page. But yeah, I think the biggest part is being able to switch off and doing what you enjoy. Like, I know a few boys are into their gaming and stuff, and other boys are just happy to just go for a coffee and have a game of cards and stuff. I think that's the biggest part. If you have a good group around you, it makes things a lot easier. I think, you know, having a good family set up around you as well, like for myself, and having a dog, like the dog, you can come home after winning the biggest game of the year or losing 50-0 to a side, and he'd still wag his tail and be excited to see you. I think, like, having a good group around you and good mates around you, that's the biggest part. And I think at Cardiff Met, they build a really good environment.
Yeah, amazing. So, like, let's go out now and let's have a little look into your positional play. Something that obviously I'm aware of, having played in the front row with you. You know, you can play not only tight head but also loose head. You know, how is that benefiting you in your career? And you know, that's a gift that not many props these days have. So you know, how is that for you, and how do you manage to, you know, be able to do it when asked upon?
Yeah, I think like being able to play both sides is good for me in terms of like selection and things like that. I think, like you said, like, not a lot of people can do it, but you know, I enjoy it. I enjoy learning. I enjoy going into training sessions and learning new things and getting better at other things as well. I think, you know, I'm quite lucky that I've always been a prop ever since I started. I wasn't sort of one that's been moved around. I've always just been in the front row. I've never been anywhere else. So being able to play both sides is just something that I started off doing because, you know, when you're under 10s, under 11s, it's not really a lot of emphasis on scrums, so you kind of go both sides, and then as you get a bit older, you start to, you know, get a bit stronger, push a bit harder. But you know, in terms of like the overall development, yeah, I was a tight head and loose head in college. Come to Cardiff Met, they seen me more as a loose head, so I played more as a loose head. But you know, I never really stopped like learning, watching what other people do, and you know, it's just about that really. And in the summer, when they spoke to me saying they're going to look at me more as a tight head this year, I said, yeah, happy days. Like, you know, it's one of the things. If they tell me to play 10, I'll play 10. If they tell me to play 15, I play 15. I just want to play rugby, and I think having an opportunity to play a tight head as well has been a good challenge for myself. Obviously a bit of a different changing environment for me from Loosehead, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. I'm enjoying learning with Alan Williams, the scrum coach, and going in every week and eager to learn and want to get better. So yeah, it's been brilliant for me, and long may it continue.
Yeah, 100%. And we see the dominance in the scrums, all the time from yourself and Cardiff Met. It's a physical team. It's what you bring to Rugby 1, week in, week out. But what can we expect now to see from Cardiff Met in the next coming weeks? It's going to be a big part of the season coming up. You're coming off the back of some good victories. So what can we expect to see from you and the boys? What's that morale sort of saying at the minute within camp?
Yeah, I think obviously we've had a nice break now over Christmas. I think a lot of boys took that time to sort of reset and sort of patch up any wounds we've had since the clash game. Coming off a couple of good wins, really important wins for us as well. I think we had an opportunity to put big scores on and get the wins on the table and get us up into where we want to be in the league. It's a tough game, first game back in Bucks. Durham away, it's never an easy place to go, especially up there. But for us, I think something to expect. I think we're not a team that enjoys losing. We want to win games. We want to beat teams. So I think in terms of like the morale, want to kind of keep that ball rolling. We want to turn up the training and play and train really well and play and get the good scores and I think we have that ability to do that. I think we got a lot of class in the team, 1 through to 23 and beyond. I think we got a lot of depth as well. So it'll be important now when we get back Monday to sort of get back into the swing of things, get back into the training and sort of not take our foot off the gas and keep going to the end of the season. I think we got a lot of home games this side of Christmas, which is nice. I think that before Christmas having that away spell sort of dampened our confidence, but getting back onto Rugby 1 in front of a bouncing crowd would be really important for us, and hopefully we can put on a bit of a show. Yeah,
and last but not least, obviously, at Cardiff Met, you've mentioned a bit about the television sort of scene. How important is it for you players to sort of get that awareness and exposure that maybe you wouldn't get at university level with obviously Cardiff Met Sport TV?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for us to have it televised every week. I think it kind of puts Bucks Super Rugby on the map as well. I think ever since I've been at Cardiff Met, every year it becomes a bit more of a growing sport and a growing league as well. I think a lot of people start talking about it. I think I go around town and I'm in Cardiff and people are asking me about how well we did it on a Wednesday and how we're playing and if we got another game going on, and I think it's credit to the sports broadcasting team to be able to put it on every week and for people to enjoy it. Credit to Bucks Super Rugby for televising games, but being able to have a lot of home games on telly every week and people watching, and it gives us that exposure and gets us to places that we want to be, and I think it's a massive credit to the broadcasting team.
Yeah, and finally, Joe, what would you say then to a young Joe Cowell who's maybe 10, 11 now? What advice would you give to that person who wants to maybe go on and do things similar to what you've done, but they just don't know quite the route to go? What would you say to that 11-year-old boy?
Probably just to enjoy rugby. I think being at 11 years old sometimes it's just too much pressure put on yourself. I think getting to around the ages of like 15, 16, 17 is when you can kind of think whether or not you want to make it a full-time thing or not. But I think when you're 11 years old, it's just about enjoying it with your mates, playing good rugby, and if you're enjoying it, that's when you play your best rugby. Certainly for me anyway. I think there's been times in my career where I haven't really enjoyed much or I haven't enjoyed playing, and you can see that in my performances. So being able to just enjoy it with your mates and having the pressure taken off you is massive. And then whichever route you go down, everything happens for a reason. I think whether you go down a regional age grade setup, whether you go down university, whether you go through college, as long as you're enjoying your rugby and you're playing good rugby, you'll get picked up. And I think that's the biggest part. Just make sure you're enjoying it and work hard, and whatever happens. And I think that's the idea as well.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Joe, thanks for coming today, mate. It's been a pleasure to see you as always.
Thank you, mate.
And all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.